Hey everyone, my name is Bavin. Welcome to my introspecting with. I haven't figured out a way to call this series yet, but we are reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and I'm on chapter three. And chapter three was awesome. I loved it, and I made a mistake actually. I misunderstood. I forgot it was the narrator and his son that are on the journey with a couple named John and Sylvia. So I don't know why I said it was a wife, but this is the chapter where Chris and the narrator are actually talking. And one of the things I really liked about this chapter that I think we should all, if you're reading along with this book, is the notion of like belief structures in your head and how they form potential ghosts or images or um, I don't even want to say like I mean they use the word ghost because they're trying to talk about a ghost story, and the idea is that like whatever you believe stays in your head. The mind is where the entire universe exists, right? And this is like word for word in like Hinduism and obviously Buddhism, being this is a allegory for Buddhism, but it's also in Hermeticism and a bunch of different religions, right? It's all the same roots here. And it was neat to actually hear the deconstruction about that notion where the example they gave was gravity, right? Like the gravity exists before Isaac Newton postulated it. And it did exist, but it also didn't exist, right? We weren't aware of it. So your awareness brings something into existence. And I think that's something that we have to always be cognizant of. And one of the things I liked about this is that they use this term called massive gnosis, and you heard this term all over social media, especially during COVID, in that education is a form of massive gnosis. And there's one part here, and what that means, I say before he can interrupt, and what that means is that the law of gravity exists nowhere except in people's heads. It's a ghost. We are all of us very arrogant and conceited about running down the other people's ghosts, but just as ignorant and barbaric as superstitions about our own. Why does everyone believe in the law of gravity then? Massive gnosis, in a very orthodox form of known education. So this is a funny little back and forth here, but the idea is that like we have these belief structures in our head that are basically ghosts. They're just like these weird neural pathway images in our head that represent something. And this could be the same for memories. This could be the same for conspiracy theories. Like you name it. It's an infinite possibility, and this actually aligns with a lot of Hindu and like Hermetic principles. But I was really like digging this chapter, and I was actually reading a chapter at a coffee shop, and one of the ladies recognized the book from way back when. She's like, "Oh yeah, that book's from the '70s and stuff." So it was cool to get kind of noticed for that. And yeah, it says here, science is only in your mind too. It's just that that doesn't make it bad or a ghost either. Like it's kind of a neutral concept. Like I'm not saying, or at least the author is not necessarily saying it's a bad thing, but you have to recognize how it works. And I think that's like always an important thing that we have to always kind of remember with respect to um, having ideas in our head. We also don't know where ideas come from. You don't know how all this stuff originates, right? But yeah, it's a cool chapter because it's something I think about a lot. Because one of my current hypotheses is that I think there's a strong correlation between a belief in a spirit or a spiritual belief in terms of religion or God, or and again I'm not promoting religion, rather one who really puts his head or her head into the books for religion versus, and I think it's inversely correlated with mental health issues. And I know like all my mental health issues basically for the most part like went away the moment I started dabbling to philosophy and spirituality and everything like that. And I think it's one of those things where even mental health is just a belief structure. You don't have to really subscribe to it. I subscribe to it in the language of to connect with other people, but I don't really subscribe to it in the same way as I used to. something doesn't feel right about it. But anyways, that's today's video. Thanks for joining.